Yo, um, this is my video on the Fire Shockwave Druid. This is my online hardcore character in Ladder at the moment. Yeah, it's a build that's not really featured a lot at the moment because Druid's one of the least popular classes, and they've also received probably the most amount of buffs in 2.4, or they're at least the most different from what they were pre 2.4. One of those changes to them was Shockwave got buffed. Well, that's not it. So it has a higher synergy with Maul. I also believe that the damage is bugged, so it actually does quite a bit more damage than that. I only play Druid. I only play sort of bear Druids, and I think this is honestly the safest and probably the best overall bear Druid type setup. I'll bring you through the build quickly first of all, just so you see what it is. So pretty much it's 20 into Maul and Shockwave, 1 point into the rest of them. I just do that just because I have extra points at the end, but I'll go over that later. 1 into Oak Sage and all the summons, and then 20 into Armageddon, 20 into Volcano. When it comes to Armageddon, it's been pretty terrible on Fire Druid just because you don't really have any tank ability, so you have to stay back, and then Armageddon doesn't hit anything because you're so far back. Also, the fire damage from Armageddon is pretty terrible. Fire damage in general has always been pretty bad. That's why I only do 20 into Armageddon and Volcano, which is the physical damage synergy. I think all the rest of the synergies are worthless or wastes of points, to be honest, because all you really care about is the extra physical damage at the end. And then, let's say comparing Shockwave to the other types of bear Druid, Maul's always been a joke. Maul's terrible. I know they said they buffed it, but it's still terrible. The amount of time it takes to build your attack speed and damage up versus how slow a werebear Druid attacks in the first place, it's just not worth it. Fire Claws, if you're going to go for a melee bear Druid, I think Fire Claws is way better. The attack rating is almost twice as much, and it just does way more damage. Yeah. And then when it comes to Summon's still a joke. I mean, it's okay, it's really safe, and it's good for hardcore. But in terms of endgame, it kills so slow, it's pretty much terrible. Anything above players 1. Also, I noticed this in all the Summon Druid guides, but everyone seems to put an Ethereal Reaper's Toll on their Mercenary, which kind of makes sense if you don't play it, but Ravens do blind, which gets rid of the decrep proc from your Act 2 Mercenary with the Reaper's Toll anyway, and Ravens are pretty much the core part of Summon Druid build, so either you have the Ravens and you don't use an Ethereal Reaper's Toll, or you go a build which doesn't use the Ravens, so you can use Ethereal's Toll and then you hit like a wet blanket. So I've always thought Summon Druid sucked, just for the clear speed and just the interference between the skills and the Merc. Yeah, also Summon Spirit Wolf's just terrible. And yeah, so gone over the skills. Pretty much you got 80 hard points: Maul, Shockwave, Armageddon, and Volcano. After that, it's up to you. I've decided to put the rest into Molten Boulder just for a little bit more fire damage. I suppose Oak Sage or Lycanthropy is fine for those extra points. I put 1 into Feral Rage just so I can rush my friends who are always dying in hardcore a bit faster. It just lets me run a bit when I'm rushing them, because I don't have Enigma yet. And then I will show you my gear. So this is also a really good budget build, and I guess solo self-found option if you're one of those people. But mine's sort of more towards the end gear at the moment. So I have a Heart of the Oak, Spirit, this is a Caster Amulet, Jalal's, Arachnid Mesh, Elders, and on weapon swap I have CTA and Spirit. For the armor I use Guardian Angel. I just like it so I can... Maybe switch back. I like it just so I could pretty much max out my resistances so I don't die in hardcore. Also, blocking's been changed in 2.4, where you can block now and it won't do an animation if you're doing something else. So that's always good. So I think this item's a little bit better than it was previously. And then just whatever charms you have. In terms of a budget build, you can always go Dual Spirit, Viper Magi with the smoke. If you don't have a CTA, you can always put a Black Flail Runeword in your offhand, and then just switch to that for bosses, because with Ball at least you have somewhat okay attack rating, and you can just crushing blow them down, so that just makes bosses a little bit easier. And then you can use Train Gloves or any FCR gloves you want. The important thing with whatever budget build you go for is that you hit the 99 faster cast rate breakpoint and the 86 faster hit recovery breakpoint. You may not think faster hit recovery matters, because now in Werebear, if you're attacking or casting a spell, it just continues or is uninterruptible, but you never know. You could go through a TP, you could get hit while you're running around, and getting hit stunned is a good way to die, especially in hardcore. And then for Mercenary, my one's pretty GG'd. I got a Ethereal Reaper's Toll with a Shale in it, Ethereal Fortitude, and a G-Face with a Shale Rune in it. I don't have a Cham, but if you put a Shale Rune into it, it goes into the Merc's next hit point recovery breakpoint, which is 49. And I think this gives 50 with the Shale Rune, so that's always good. I think you have a lot of flexibility in terms of Mercs between what works in this build. And yeah, so I think if you don't have, or you're doing solo self-found or something, if you don't have a Reaper's Toll, you can always go for an Act 5 Lawbringer Merc. The attack rating on the Lawbringer Merc's actually pretty bad, so sometimes it might even be worth doing double Lawbringer, just so you can get the Decrepify procs a bit easier. The Decrep procs are also really good, just because Shockwave is physical damage, and it helps kill stuff a lot faster. You can also go an Act 3 Merc with Enchant on it. So not only is it a second source of damage, but Enchant is actually really good for both your hitting with a Black Flail on the offhand for your Maul, but also all your summons. We got 9 summons, and I guess when you're getting up there in levels, your Enchant starts to be about 400 or 500 damage from that Merc, so it does add up on your summons, and it always helps. And then in terms of farming areas, I'll show you that quickly now. I might actually show you cows first, but basically as you're leveling up at Nightmare, I would probably just do Hell Cows. You can get a lot of great charms, grand charms there. This is also the safest leveling path, as well as what I think is the most efficient. So hardcore solo self-found people, this is the way. Just level up as normal. Once you finish Nightmare Bale, you can either do Bale runs or Nightmare Cows, because Nightmare Cows can drop quite high runes, I think up to a Ist rune. But you can get those things like Lums for smokes, all that other stuff. And once you get through Nightmare Cows, I would do Hell Countess or Stony Tomb if you get past Act 1. Countess just to farm up like some runes, some Lem runes, all those things for your Merc so you can make Treachery and all that. Smokes. Or Stony Tomb, just because it is a no fire immunity level 85 area, so that's always good. And then progress into Hell Cows, and then finally into Chaos Sanctuary, just because Chaos is really safe. It's so safe. There's no dulls, there's no souls, aside from just faster run speed, champion packs. Those are the only things you really need to watch out for, so that's fine. But I'll show you the build, I guess, in action finally. So I'll show you Hell Cows. So I think with this one, just Shockwave and try to run in the middle. This is just player 1. But you're pretty much invulnerable here. Shockwave is so good, and then just Armageddon adds extra damage on top. Once you know the build a bit better, you can just stand in the middle of it. And even with the budget build, this thing shreks. So, pretty good for that. I'll see if I can find another pack around here. Ah, there we go. Sweet, so that's cows. I'll show you chaos as well, just so you get an idea of the endgame level 85 area. So, not quite as fast as some of the most meta builds, but arguably the safest and also most efficient for clearing. This is much faster than a summon druid, or even a summon necro, so those other safe builds don't hold a candle to this, while this is almost as safe as those safest builds. If you don't like Armageddon, you can go for an even safer build, which is instead of Volcano and maxing out Armageddon, you just max out Oak Sage and Lycanthropy, and then you just rely on your physical damage plus the decrep from your Merc to deal with all the types of monsters in the game. So yeah, that's pretty much the build there. Ideal for hardcore and solo builds. You can progress through anything, and you'd really have to be unlucky or a bit stupid to get yourself in a position where you'd die with this build, because it is so safe. Yeah, I guess any questions, leave them in the comments section and I'll get back to you on what I think about it. Awesome. Thank you.